Hey, what's up? This is Tim Sykes. It is a holiday weekend. Happy MLK Day today. I'm going to go over 17 stocks that I will be watching for tomorrow because remember, the stock market is closed today. And also today is a very special day because, frankly, I'm excited. This is the final day of this Profitly sale where you can save 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% off different newsletters and DVDs. No more extensions. I know many of you guys are asking for it, but I've extended this far too long. You either want to save on your education or you don't. Finally, an end to it. So when I post this video, you have 24 hours to lock in the savings. I will post the links just below this video. I think that you should have as much knowledge as you can in order to trade. If you want an example of why I think my knowledge and my teachings are better than others, well, first of all, I show every trade. I've been trading for 2 decades, but most importantly, I have the most successful students who show every trade. I got to give props to Stephen Dux. He just passed 700,000 in profits. 2 weeks ago, he passed 600,000 in profits, and now this past week, he made nearly 70,000 shorting NAKD and GLBS. Those of you who are in my chat room know that I was traveling on Friday to a very special trader's wedding. I'll post some pictures and videos. But while I was in the chat room, and even with my spotty Wi-Fi, I said NAKD was a potential short, and several of you guys nailed it in the threes. I think it came all the way back down. I think it came all the way back down to 1, right? To 1-ish, not 1. To the ones, yeah, 174. Wow, look at that drop. I mean, shorting the morning spike, this was perfect. If you need any reason to watch this DVD, specifically trading tickers, this is all about shorting morning spikes. This is my top student, Tim Grattani, who's now turned 1,500 into nearly $4 million. So I don't know. I haven't had a chance to check out his trades. I know he was close to around 50,000 in profits last week. But this is what's possible when you scale up your size. And I know that's not possible for a lot of you guys with just a few $1,000s. It's okay. You start small, you get bigger over time. Let me actually go over a few lessons. I wrote this blog post just now. Forgive my slow Wi-Fi. I'm in a fairly exotic place for this wedding right now. But I wanted to share with you 17 good lessons to remember. After I share these lessons, I'll get to the 17 stocks that I'm watching. It just so happens that there's 17 stocks. I could have probably written a blog post with 500 lessons, but we'll keep it short just so that you guys can pay attention. Because I've been learning a lot, not just as a trader, but as a teacher. I've been teaching now for nearly 10 years. I've seen what really helps students, and frankly, there's a lot of newbies teaching, and they haven't seen that. They don't have experience, so they're teaching bad and dangerous rules, and you guys won't realize that you've been learning this flawed methodology and flawed strategies and flawed rules until it's too late. So I want to try to prevent that. If you go to timothysykes.com, you could read this whole blog post, but I'm just going to quickly go over. This is my top student, Tim Grattani. He made nearly $1 million last year, showing every trade. I know there's some people out there, they're like, look at my screenshot, and they have one screenshot like, oh, I did well. Show me every trade. How much did you win? How much did you lose? How much did you risk on every single trade? That's what all of my top students do. It's not just one screenshot. Stephen Dux actually takes it to the next level. If you follow him on Twitter, he's Steven1_994. He actually made a video lesson the other day, just talking about how he trades and his whole methodology, and he wins. It's kind of freaky. He wins like almost the exact same percentage as me. And I know I talked to him on the phone the other day. He's been studying hard. He's watched all my video lessons. He really likes shorting. Just awesome. So props for not just sharing all your trades, but also making video lessons. And Steven and everybody else watching this, please don't hit up Steven too much, okay? I want more millionaire students. He needs to focus on trading rather than answering all your questions. If you guys have questions, I do weekly webinars, okay? This Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to do another Q&A, a weekly webinar for my Trading Challenge students. You also get Q&A webinars with Michael Good, Mark Crook, and Tim Grattani. So leave Steven alone. Let him do his job, which is trading. Um, and Steven, I know you want to be nice and help people, but please focus on yourself, okay? A lot of people are so lost and they'll just ask you one question at a time until you're dead, until you have no more time, because they do not want to commit to actually studying a whole video lesson or a whole DVD or a whole webinar. And so these one questions, you know, it's like death by 1,000 questions, one question at a time. I see way too many of you guys asking me questions like that. Like, oh, this one question, Tim, just 30 seconds, just 1 minute of your time. Multiply that by tens of thousands of people every single day. And, you know, Stephen Ducks, as he gets more successful, people will want to learn from him too. So, Stephen, focus on trading. You have to be cruel to be kind. Help a few people, but, you know, you need to put yourself first. For me, it's the opposite, okay? I have already made millions of dollars trading. You can waste as much of my time as possible, but I'm still going to guide you to my more comprehensive guides and video lessons rather than this one question at a time BS. I see that way too often, and it pisses me off, as you might be able to tell. I posted this video lesson the other day. Some of you guys are really surprised because I focused on, excuse me, some tweets and some messages from people that I got over one 72-hour period. And literally there were like, I mean, I selected 150 of the best tweets, but I had about 450 tweets of testimonials of people who are, you know, learning or profiting. And I also had about 700 chat room messages. I don't normally post all that. Normally I post like 1, 2, sometimes 5 or 10 students max. I think everybody was surprised that I had so many people, you know, doing this. I do run a rather successful education company, and it's good to be real in an industry full of scams. So I think a lot of you guys are surprised when I did this 90-minute video lesson, basically just highlighting a bunch of different people who trade these stocks in different ways. We're not all buying the same stock. Sometimes we're buying, sometimes we're shorting, sometimes we're going against each other. That's the market. There's no one right way. So I'm glad I spent 90 minutes on that because, you know, normally I do like these 15, 20, 30-minute videos and you don't get the full scope of what is going on. So welcome to my life. Hundreds of people, of students, profiting pretty much every day lately. And it's kind of awesome. It's been nearly a decade of teaching. So when some people say, oh, you only have, you know, a few millionaire students, we've got a lot of students who are getting close to 1 million. Stephen Ducks is one of them. Anyways, 17 lessons to help you crush it in 2017. Focus on supernovas. Too many of you guys bring up random stocks. Tim, I know you like trading this pattern. I know you like trading volatile stocks, but what do you think about XYZ junk biotech stock that has a terrible chart and hasn't spiked at all in 9 months? They have an interesting product and they could cure blah, blah, blah. Don't focus on any penny stock story. They're all full of shit, okay? Just as many traders who are full of shit, there's even more penny stocks that are full of shit. So focus on the hot plays and the supernovas and the sympathy plays. And if you don't know what a sympathy play is, if you don't know what a supernova is, watch my freaking guides, okay? My guides have all been designed to catalog this one stock market phenomenon because frankly, this is the pattern. These are the kinds of stocks that make me and my top students so much money. And Stephen Ducks get it. I mean, he gets it completely. He made nearly 70 grand shorting 2 of these supernovas. Number 2, be able to go long and short. And I know that we all have our biases and strengths and weaknesses, but the best traders can go both ways. You don't have to feel like you're, you know, a politician flip-flopping on a crime bill that should never be flip-flopped on. You know, trading is all about flip-flopping. You're a trader. Sometimes you go long a stock, sometimes you go short. You know, sometimes if I'm going long a stock and I'm buying straight into a wall of sellers, I probably should go short and I should reverse. Although, you know, as a newsletter guy, it's tough for me to go from 100% long to 100% short, even though as a trader, you guys, you're not beholden to anybody else. That's what trading is all about. So I see some people saying, oh, Tim, you were just long this stock. How can you short it the next day? If I had my way, I would go long sometimes. And if that long doesn't work out, I would short it the next second. That's the beauty of trading. Number 3, adapt to what's working in the market right now. You know, right now I've been doing a lot of dip buying. Stephen Ducks has done a lot of shorting morning spikes. You know, whatever is working. The market is always changing, so adapt. Again, trading is about adapting and reacting, not predicting. Number 4, recognize patterns that are hot And again, I was traveling. This was the jet I took on Friday. And I made a little over $1,000 literally from like the runway. Like we were about to board the plane and I couldn't help it. I saw, a pattern that I know very well, a morning panic pattern on AXIM. And so I was prepared and I took advantage of it. And I made a little over 1,000 on a partial position. And in this blog post, I included a video on the same damn pattern. So it's kind of cool when you're prepared. Number 5, you can trade stocks from anywhere. You do not need to be a slave to the stock market. Some of you guys don't go anywhere. You refuse to leave a room from 9 a.m. Eastern till 4 p.m. Eastern. You don't necessarily need to do that. And frankly, I probably could have made maybe double or triple the amount that I've made if I just sat in an office all these years, but I wouldn't have had much fun. And money, it's nice, but once you have a few $1,000,000, that's really all you need to live pretty damn well, okay? I don't own these jets. I just charter them. Actually, owning a jet is actually a pretty bad investment. Some of you guys are like, oh, you only charter jets. Yeah, that's right, because that's better, You can charter these jets for like 10, 15, 20,000 bucks, and while that might seem like a lot to you guys, it's much better. The amount of times that I'm taking a jet, 10, 20, 30,000, it's adds up, but it's not like tens of millions of dollars like if I wanted to buy these jets. So got to be very clear about that. Number 6, remember that while it sounds great to make a lot of money from anywhere, 90% of traders lose. Okay? So this is a very tough game, and you have to do what most people are unwilling to do, which namely is preparation. So if you're watching this video lesson on a holiday, congratulations. You're doing what 90% of people refuse to do, which is prepare ahead of time. And obviously there's more to it than that, but that's the gist. Number 7, always be looking to get better even when you're making money. You can never be truly perfect. You can never be rich enough. If you feel like you're too rich, you can start a charity and give money away just like I'm doing. I'm about to actually announce a 7-figure donation in the next week. I'm very excited. But always look at this like a challenge. You're never done learning, even if you've been trading for 2 decades or 3 decades or 4 decades. If you, just stop learning and you don't commit to it, guess what? Your money can leave very quickly, okay? Because the stock market changes. And those of you who are out of touch, even if you've had success in the past, that does not guarantee success in the future. Number 8, acquiring true financial knowledge and success takes time. I know you guys want instant gratification, and some of these stocks actually give it to you. But if you truly want knowledge and lasting success and the ability to adapt and cut losses quickly and not take crazy risks, it's going to take you time to acquire all that. So have patience. Number 9, the good news is that while it takes time, if you prepare and you focus on optimizing your strategy, it really can add up quickly. And Stephen Dux is just my latest, 6-figure student. I have a lot of others. It's pretty cool how quickly it can add up in year 1, year 2, year 3 of studying. Number 10, don't worry about what any other trading. Oh, this is a typo. And I'm sorry about my typos. I'm doing too much. Deal with it. If you guys get offended by typos or grammar, then you shouldn't be my student. But don't worry about what any other trader is making or losing. It doesn't matter. I bring up these numbers to inspire you, to show you what's possible. And frankly, because there are so many frauds in my industry, they don't have students who are showing every single trade and investment transparently. If you're learning from anybody else, say, hey, where are all your trades? Show me every single trade that you make, good or bad, and your top students. Why can you not show me those? And you'll hear a huge amount of excuses. I've heard every excuse in the book. So I share with you these stories about my students who are really making it so you can understand the potential. But don't feel bad if you're not making 70,000 or 20,000 in a week. This is later on. This is inspiration for you like in the middle of the night. If you're watching this video lesson, you want to go to sleep, but you want to be prepared, think about what you could be making. Think about your future self. That is why I talk about this, not so that you can compare your current self to these traders. Number 11, practice makes perfect. Okay, don't feel bad if you have a small account. Don't feel bad if you're paper trading. We all start somewhere. I see some of these rich asshole traders mocking people with small accounts and saying, oh, $38 in profits. Like, that's pathetic. No, Your attitude is pathetic, you rich asshole. Okay? There are some rich traders, and I hope you never meet them because they are the worst people in the world. I know that I'm not very popular in the trading industry, and I take that as a compliment because the trading industry is full of the weirdest fucking degenerates you will ever meet. And I don't want to meet them, okay? I used to go to some of these conferences and expos, and I was like, God, I have to like wash my hands after shaking my hands with some of these freaks. Okay, so traders might make a lot of money, but they are so socially awkward and they will rip you guys down, your small traders, and you'll take it personally and you'll get discouraged. I've seen it happen, and you'll cut your education short because of this negativity. There's way too much negativity. First of all, money does not mean everything. I also know a few billionaires and they are weird as fuck and they cannot even socialize. They're like barely human. So having too much money is actually a negative. And a lot of these traders, a lot of these social media, heroes where they're like, oh, I'm so badass on social media. If you meet them in person, it's crazy, okay? They are drug addicts. They are alcoholics. They're degenerates. They have really skewed mindsets, and you shouldn't listen to them. And if you see any of them, ripping on anybody with a small account, call them out, okay? Call them out on their bullshit. And it's just pathetic when I see this. Number 12, even when the market is closed, you can practice and learn. Okay, you have to think of this as, the on season and the off season. I know many of you guys think, hey, I'm only going to trade. I don't need to study on a Saturday or a Sunday or a holiday weekend, Tim. Come on, let me live. No. Okay, if you're a professional athlete, you train in the off season. You're not a professional athlete probably if you're watching this, although I do have a few professional athlete students. Props to you guys. But most of you will never ever be professional athletes, and that's cool. At least you can still get wealthy, and again, not too wealthy so you don't get screwed up in the head, but at least you can make 6 or 7 figures and be relatively normal and happy and free. And you have to think of when the market is closed as your off season. Like a professional athlete trains in the off season, you as a non-professional athlete will train in the off season, which is at nights, weekends, and holidays. Ignore my rules at your own risk. You don't have to listen to me, but you'll see that they actually work. Number 13, as you might be able to tell, if you want success in trading, you're going to have to work your ass for it. Work your ass off for it. Not work your ass for it. You're not a stripper either, okay? Let's be real. You're going to have to just work. And working means expanding your knowledge, skill sets, and optimizing your strategy. Number 14, and we all have different strategies. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, so you have to find yours. That's part of the hard work. Number 14, if you have any doubts about yourself or your abilities or me or my teachings, just don't bother learning. Again, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to offend you. I don't care if you're lazy. I don't care if you hate me. I'm here to create millionaire students. And I know that singular focus kind of throws people off. So like, what do you mean by this? Why'd you post this photo? If you're not going to be one of my millionaire students, you're irrelevant to me. I'm sorry to be so harsh, but in order for me to do the impossible, I have to really focus. And so every single thing that I post, every single video lesson, every single picture, every single blog post, every single trade, every single watch list, every single piece of commentary is all to create millionaire students who get it. If you don't get it, if you think I'm like bragging, if you doubt yourself, if you say, oh, I can't become a millionaire, that only happens to other people, just leave my website now. I don't have time for your shit. I'm sorry to be harsh, but I have a very singular focus. And as tough as it is for me to create millionaires from scratch, it's impossible if you have the wrong attitude. And it's not a big deal. If you doubt me, I get it all the time, okay? But also remember, my first hater, Michael Good, also became my first millionaire student. So it's okay to doubt me, but if you doubt me and you still want to study and then you gradually realize that these patterns and rules work, that's cool too. Number 15, I cannot guarantee you profits, but I can guarantee you education. And a lot of people ask me this, like, even if I study so hard, am I guaranteed to be a millionaire? No. Okay, there's literally nobody else in the world creating millionaires from scratch. I don't think you guys realize how tough this is. And I don't think you realize how much you're going to have to work. But it is possible, as I've proven now several times. And I cannot guarantee that you will be my next millionaire student. I can't even guarantee that you'll be my next 6-figure student. All I can do is provide you the education, and the rest is up to you. This is a very important lesson for some of you guys. Live trading videos help your education big time. I posted this one last week. I'm going to try to do one a week. This was like an hour long. I mean, some of the trades are not, all in like 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes. So it requires multiple videos, and it's frankly a pain in the butt to put it all together and put it up, but I know how useful it is. If you want more live trades, Trading Challenge students, you get 2 to 4 live trading webinars per week, depending on the schedules of me and several of my top students, like Tim Grattani, Mark Crook, and Michael Good, and myself. And so if you want more live trades, I mean, we do live trading webinars, and it's kind of cool. Tim Grattani made, I think, around $8,000 on last week's live trading webinar. And I'm sorry we only got like 5/8 of it posted. There were some technical difficulties on like 40 minutes of it. It was a 2-hour webinar. So some of you guys emailing me, I'm sorry, sometimes we have technical difficulties, but at least you have an hour 20 of it, and a few of you watched it live, which was cool. And number 17, before I get to the stocks that I'm watching, rule number 1 about cutting losses quickly is not optional. Okay, I know we're all different, and I know that we have different personalities and strengths and weaknesses, but you should never risk these big losses that I see some of you guys, doing. Like, trading does not have to be stressful. You shouldn't have to risk losing 30 to 50% on your money to potentially make 10 or 20% and be like, well, I made money in the end. It's all justified. No, it's not. You're fighting with just demons that you can't control. You're playing with fire. And if you don't get burned this time, you'll get burned in the future. Trust me, a lot of newbies think this way. I see this misguided thinking all the time. I've been around, okay? This is the beauty of being a veteran. You do not have to lose big or risk losing big ever. I would rather miss a trade than risk losing big because, in case you didn't see this, I don't really have that many big losses these days. Sometimes I break my rules. I'm not perfect. But at the same time, I have the right mindset and the right approach. And trading and the stock market does not have to be stressful if you have the right approach. All right, hold on. Let's get to some stocks to watch. I got to edit these typos. Let me pause this video while I edit, and then I'll get to the stocks. And before we get into the stocks, let me just remind you, this is your final chance to take advantage of this Profitly sale. I don't want to see any emails or messages or comments saying, Tim, I didn't know it was over. I'm telling you again and again and again, this sale will not come around until the end of 2017. If you want to wait until Thanksgiving, we have our annual Thanksgiving sale. But we'll probably be raising prices in between now and then. So never mind. I'll take that back because, frankly, we're trying to only take students who are serious about their education. And if you're not willing to invest a little time and a little money into your education, you just don't have the proper mindset. And many of you guys are like, Tim, why don't you just put everything free? Come on, if you really wanted to teach. Actually, what I've learned from my free trader checklist guide is that if the guide is free, people don't watch it at all because they're just like, oh, it's free. Like, we don't value it. Like, it's crazy how education actually works and what works best. And I want the most number of millionaire students, so that is my focus. Now let's get to some stocks. NAKD is one that I'm watching, but it's come all the way down. So after a stock loses all of its volatility, I'm really not that interested in it. Maybe it bounces a little bit off of its lows, but I want to trade volatile stocks. And frankly, it was bad timing for me that I was traveling, right when it was here. And at least I said in my chat room, potential short, and some of you guys nailed it. E-Trade, I believe, had shares to short of this. And I got to give props to Legal Pimp. He's one of the students who learned from me in person a few weeks ago. Again, I teach in person too. So if you want to learn in person, email admin@timothysykes.com. But he shorted in the 360s. And I think he covered in the low threes, and he made, a few $100. He covered a little too quickly, but he's learning. And his profit chart, hold up, let me pull this up. I got to show you. This is my student Legal Pimp's chart. And you can see here he was up a little bit when he first started, but then he got on this nasty downward spiral. He'll admit it himself. If you talk to him in chat, he was over trading. But since we started, really focusing on fixing his problems, look at this. I mean, he's gone from negative 5,000 to negative 2,000. And I know he's still negative. Some people will say this is a bad thing. But this is what learning is, okay? Your chart can't always be perfect. And sometimes you have to learn what not to do. And so now he knows what not to do. But look at the total change since he started learning in person. Literally from 5,000, he's positive like 3,000 since going negative 5,000. And the trend change, I mean, if this were a stock chart, you would clearly see this is a trend change. He's the January effect. He was broken down due to tax loss selling or due to his own, stuff, his own issues. But now he's on the right track and he's making a few hundred, every now and then. And he was shorting, BIOC and NAKD and BCI. I mean, look at his trades on Friday. I mean, this is awesome. Look at this. And he shorted XGTI. I mean, I think he just had like his biggest day, 500, like $700 in one day, just being ready. And here was his NAKD short. I love that he posted the chart too. And he shorted it right there. I alerted this in chat as it was a chat room pump. And, he got short and he made 14% on a very small position. He could have made more, but he took the meat of the move and he made a few hundred. And that's a damn good lesson. So props to you, man. Good job. I'm proud of you. And by the way, this is the market mastery. Where is it? I have it somewhere here. I have too many different web pages. That was the old web page. This is the new one. And the next one is going to be in Miami on March 7th and 8th. And so I guess we have 2 spots available. So if you go to timothysykes.com/market-mastery, let's see if I can show the URL here. timothysykes.com/market-mastery. I'll link it on the bottom of this too. But teaching in person, sometimes helps too. So whatever works. I try it all. So props to Legal Pimp for shorting this and some of you other guys. I know some other people I see on social media, they're like still holding this and they're holding and hoping. And you can never just hold and hope. Yes, it's still finished up 67% on the day. Yes, it could still bounce a little bit. But I'm not interested in it. I'm more interested in it when it goes supernova like this. GLBS was another great short when it went from the 3s to the 7s. Stephen Ducks nailed this one big time. Now it's come down and it's mid-range. So yeah, could it bounce? Sure, I could see it bouncing to the 6, or I could see it, dropping more to the 4s. But mid-range stocks, I'm frankly just not that interested in. I'm interested if it starts ramping and it buys, and it looks like it could be a good buy for the breakout. Or I'm interested in shorting, a ridiculous supernova or the breakout right here, in the 5s. I like focusing on breakout levels or overextended moves. When a stock is consolidated and, it's kind of mid-range, it's back to the middle, I'm not interested in it because it could go either way. I could clearly make a case. I could spend 2 hours making a case on all these stocks. It could go either way. And that's what most traders do. They're trading stocks that could go either way, and they're wondering why they have random results. If you learn to focus on the patterns that work best, then guess what? You'll have better results. Here's AXIM. This is a multi-day chart, and you can see it's been rising from the 8s to nearly 20, put in a good double top. So I know some of you guys were shorting this. Tim Grattani was shorting this. Fantastic. Short the double top, short for the morning panic. And this was a nice morning panic from 19 all the way down to 13. As I said in yesterday's video lesson, it also had a lot of support here, right around the 12s and the 13s. And guess what? It bottomed. So this was a decent dip buy, and I know some of you guys banked just like I did on Friday, dip buying it. So whether you want to short the double top or buy, the morning panic near support, those are 2 good patterns. Now what's going to happen? Well, it just had its first red day. So most likely the odds shift to it being a short. I know some people who were short over the weekend, and I could really see this dropping again. I don't know if we're going to have a $6 a share morning panic tomorrow, but I would love to see it retest these lows here in the 12s, and there should be some support in here in the 11s, and really a lot of support here in the 10s. So I would love to see this drop from 14 down to 10, and I'll try and dip buy it again because I'm not short overnight, and if it does drop, it'll probably be a morning panic. It'll be too quick for me to short. This one is kind of tough to get execution, so I'd rather actually dip buy this into panic. So if this drops down from the 14s down to the 10-ish, you'll probably see me dip buying. Now, it could go even further than 10. It could go down to like 8 or 9, and I would load up even more. A lot of these panics are just due to stop losses going off. Okay, so while you have different time frames and different strategies, you have to think about what is actually happening in the moment. And those of you who are watching the Friday morning panic, I mean, it was clear that a lot of this was just stop losses. So I like that because that creates an inefficiency, that creates an opportunity. And from the bottom here, you know, at 13.30, it got up to like 15.30. So there was $2 a share of bounce and then $2 a share of bounce here. So even though there was $6 a share to make on the short side, there was still some money to be made on the bounce too. And frankly, shorting this kind of a stock is tough. The main stock that I'm watching right now, I'll send out a full watch list to you subscribers later tonight. I just wanted to bring up a few that I'm watching. TBIO is the main one. And again, this one is mid-range now. The high was 160. The low really was like 50 cents. So 50 cents and 160, and now it's at $1. I mean, it's exactly mid-range. So what's going to happen now? First of all, congrats to everybody who was buying this. Oh, it shut down. One sec. Sorry, that does happen when I'm trying to do these video recordings. Some of you guys, you know, don't understand when I'm doing a live video and the platform crashes. You know, it's tough to do live video on a laptop along with these moving data platforms. So I'm sorry if some of these videos, you know, the software crashes or the video doesn't get posted. Welcome to brand new technology. It's all getting better, and Stocks to Trade is actually coming out with a big release this week. Let me just show you. Can I pull up a screenshot? This is a screenshot of, first of all, we have Twitter searches on tickers on Stocks to Trade, but this is more exciting. There's paper trading, so you can practice. You know, one of the lessons that I had was like, don't make fun of small traders with small accounts or people who are paper trading. And soon you'll be able to paper trade. This was actually supposed to be done yesterday. We're just working out the final kinks. It will be ready on Wednesday. And where was another one? So this is another preview of the new Stocks to Trade. And you can see you can have the Twitter search. We got the level 2 in here. We got the time and sales. We got the chart. And then you have paper trading over here. And broker integration is coming too. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of stuff going on right here. But this is basically why you should be using this software. It won't crash as much in the future, and especially if you're not recording your screen like I do. But especially since Yahoo Finance now sucks. I mean, the key stats is such a huge, important indicator. You know, looking at the float and just looking up the fundamentals of these companies too before you buy. And Yahoo Finance, I don't know what kind of idiots are in charge there, but they used to be very organized and it was very easy to look at, you know, breaking news and key stats. Now there's like ads everywhere. There's no ads on Stocks to Trade, okay? And frankly, I'm very thankful that we've been spending 2 years building this platform, kind of anticipation of just, you know, other websites not really giving a fuck about traders. You know, they care more about investors, and investors don't care about, you know, all this fast moving news and Twitter search and key stats like right away, like getting it within seconds. So Stocks to Trade has made research a lot more efficient, and it's only going to get better. So I'm very excited about that. So yeah, all you have to do is go to stockstotrade.com and check it out. I'll have another video on Wednesday when we have paper trading finally live. I know a lot of you guys have requested it. But anyways, getting back to TBIO, I mean, we're mid-range here. And congrats to everybody who was buying this in here, you know, either dip buying it or buying, you know, the breakout on the dip here. I know some of you guys bought this right around here at 83 cents and you sold it at $1 or 95 or $1.10 and you made, you know, 10-20%. Or some of you guys were focused on buying the breakout in here in the 120s and you sold in the 130s, 140s, 150s, 160 level. I mean, this is a good 30% winner literally overnight. So if I had not been traveling, I would have been long this overnight. I probably would have screwed it up somehow. I would have probably been long, I think I said in yesterday's video, like around 130, 125, 10,000 shares, let's say, and I would have exited at like 140, 145. I would have made like 1,500 bucks. It really wouldn't have been a big trade for me. But buying these stocks, these, you know, kind of just amazing stocks that can really go supernova, this is the kind of play that you should hold overnight. We had this on BIOC the other day, and I mean, I think this might have been the most profitable trade of any of my students in the past. Sorry, my computer is slow. I'm on an exotic location. Welcome to my life. Let me turn this stuff off. But, you know, buying the breakout here into the close in the 160s, 170s, and it went all the way up to 3 the next morning. So some of you guys made 50, 75, 100% on your money overnight. And even though it came down, this was a great overnight trade. And it was also a great short too. So you can make money both ways. Now TBIO is very similar, where I know a lot of you guys were long overnight. And frankly, you did pretty well. Not necessarily as well as BIOC. It wasn't like a 50, 100% winner, but it was still 10, 20, 30% to be made. And that's pretty damn good. So that said, you have to lock in profits. You can't trust any of these plays. And midday, when I actually did get some Wi-Fi on the jet on Friday, just to show you, I'm literally always working. It doesn't matter where I am. I'm trying to give you commentary. I'm trying to show you that you can do this from anywhere. So I got a little Wi-Fi in the middle of my jet ride, and I said, you know, TBIO has switched from a potential long to a potential short. When it was, I think it was like around here, it was around like 130, 140-ish, and it just couldn't really go supernova. It couldn't pull a BIOC, and, you know, on a Friday, when a stock can't go full supernova, that means it's a potential short. And some of you guys shorted, and, you know, you made 10, 20, 30% on the way down. So whether you're making 10, 20, 30% on the way up or 10, 20, 30% on the way down, there's money to be made both ways. You just don't want to be caught on the wrong side. I know some people who are shorting in here, you know, and they're risking losing 30, 40% on their money. And even if they're break even now, or if they're going to make a little, it's not worth the risk. This is a classic example of fighting with fire. And even if you don't get burnt this time, eventually you will. And that's not a good strategy to practice. That's not a good strategy to teach. So congrats to those of you who are short right now. This is a first down day, just like AXIM. So probably we're going to get a morning panic. If we don't get a morning panic, if we get like a little morning bounce, I'll short the morning bounce. I don't know if I'm going to short it now, though. Like, you know, it's tough for me to chase this now that it's dropped already 60 cents off its highs. I know some of you guys nailed the short in the 140s, 150s. And I know one guy, Jason in particular, a new challenge student, shorted it around 152, I think, and he covered half his position at 120, and he's letting the other half ride. That's a good way of trading. You know, you don't always have to get all in at once, all out at once. So he took some profits, he shorted, he was right, he locked in some profits, and now he's holding, ideally, probably for a morning panic. So feel free to split your position into 2 or 3 sometimes, and you can take profits along the way. You can cut losses to minimize your risks along the way. Just understand, you know, when you're cutting your position on your shorts, you might not be able to get back in. That's the one bad thing about shorting. I have hundreds of video lessons about this where, you know, you have to risk a little pain in order to make more money later on. But there's a very big word, a little pain. You know, it's very important to risk a little pain. You don't want to risk losing half your money or 3/4 or all your money, even if you're eventually right. Because again, that is too stressful, too risky, and I don't recommend it, and I don't want you risking that much. You know, these stocks could do anything. With TBIO, I really wouldn't have been surprised to see it hit $2 a share on Friday. There's been a lot of short sellers, rich and poor lately, who have been underestimating these supernovas. And I don't want you making that mistake, because even rich short sellers lately, like really successful short sellers, have been losing 6 and 7 figures on plays like IDXG, ETRM, DRYS, just underestimating it and being like, I've never seen anything like this. Well, you've never seen anything like this because you haven't fucking studied the past, and you mock me for, you know, trying to share the past. So if you ignore the past, guess what? You're going to get punished in the future. It's not me who's the enemy. It's your own laziness, and it's your own ignorance. And a lot of these rich short sellers who think that they know everything, they could really benefit by just taking it down a notch and just studying the past. All I am is a glorified history teacher. Okay? This is not the first time I've seen TBIO. This is probably the, 117th time. If I had to try to figure out how many times I've seen a pattern like this, and that's cool. While no patterns are exactly the same, I have an idea of what it's going to do. And most likely, because it's his first down day, it's going to drop. I would love to see it put up a little fight so I could short it, in the 120s possibly. If you're looking for resistance levels, it tried to drop down here to 115 near the open on Friday. And also, this was a good delayed morning panic and a good delayed morning spike play where you could have dip bought it literally right around the breakout level of 120. And, instead of holding overnight or instead of holding for several hours and trying to make 10, 20, 30%, think about this. Just trying to make 10, 20, 30% on the bounce in the morning. And so sometimes you can have that. So I would love to see, some kind of bounce, that would open up some opportunity for me. Right now, there's not much volatility and there isn't a bounce, so I can't really trade it because if I try and short it, it could still be a delayed spiker and come to 120. What if the morning panic fails at 98 cents and then, let's say it goes down to 90 cents. Where should it have support? At 91, 92 cents. And then it does another little, delayed morning spike from 91 cents up to 120. I mean, that would be a 30% move. So you have to think about the possibilities here. And I'm ready for it. I have no positions. I'm 100% cash right now. You'll see my trades in the chat room tomorrow. I'm going to try and find a better Wi-Fi spot. I'll post some pictures and videos of this wedding that I'm at soon, but I don't post stuff about my life in real time anymore. I've had some interesting people meet me. Nothing bad, but just, I need to be a little more private, just so you understand. I'll still post everything about my life. It's just not always in real time. So I can't really talk about where I am exactly, but just know that, I was traveling for this wedding and I'm very glad that I went to it. I think that you should support your peers, and this guy who got married is a good friend, so it was cool, but it's also going to influence my trading. And it's crazy to me that more people don't talk about their own personal schedule, if they're working or if they're at school, if they're Wi-Fi, if they're traveling, if they're in a different time zone. It does affect your trading. And the only thing that I can think of is that most people who talk about it, they're just slaves, so they don't trade if they're traveling. They're just like, oh, this is my travel. I don't trade. Or if they're home, they're like, okay, I don't live, so I'm just going to trade. And it's one or the other. And I just think that's kind of narrow-minded. And I don't think that you necessarily need that. I think that you can implement trading into your life. And I kind of do it in a haphazardly kind of way, but at least it still works. And it's kind of cool for me to show you, when a trade does well or not, and how my surroundings and how my life affects it. And I think more people need to share that. So don't feel, if you make a video lesson, and we have that ability now on Profitly, don't feel like you have to just talk about stocks only. Talk about your own position, and not just about your environment, but also your mindset. If you have 3 losses in a row, you're not going to trade the stock the same way as if, you're riding high and you're Aaron Rodgers and, you've won, 7, 8 games in a row, or let's say you have, you're a trader, because again, you're not a professional athlete, most of you, and you have 7 or 8 trades in a row, you're on a winning streak and you feel hot. So you have to see how that affects you. Right now, I'm on a pretty good streak. I've been trading pretty well, but there's also been a lot of opportunities lately. So I don't know if I can really claim credit for it. I think it's more just the opportunities, and I've learned to capitalize on it. I'm definitely not Aaron Rodgers hot, but I'm not Eli Manning cold, or Osweiler cold. I don't wish Osweiler cold on anybody. I'm kind of in between. I'm kind of like TBIO right now, although I'm a little hotter than TBIO because this is, again, just his first down day, and the odds favor it dropping some more. How much more, I don't know exactly. And, if TBIO was smart, they would put out a press release, but they're a dollar stock, so I don't know how smart they are. So we'll see. I will be in the chat room tomorrow morning at 9:15 or 9 a.m. Eastern. I might try to find some better Wi-Fi. I go all over the world. Some of you are like, why don't you just pick up a plan? There's no worldwide plan for Wi-Fi, okay? But I'm going to try. And I will be ready for any potential trades, TBIO, a potential short if it spikes, or even a potential buy if it dips enough. An AXIM, a potential buy if it dips enough. I probably won't try to short it because it's dropped so much. But those are my top two stocks. GLBS, I'll also be watching, and NAKD I'll be watching, but both of those are kind of mid-range, so they're not my favorite. So these are the top 4 stocks that I'm watching. I'll send a watch list of all 17 stocks on my watch list, but these are the top 4, and we'll probably have some more tomorrow with some new news. So it's a busy market. I hope you're prepared. Again, one final note right here on this sale on Profitly. 24 hours from the time that I post this. No more delays. If you want to invest in your education, do it. I suggest you do. Save big. Props again to students like Legal Pimp, Stephen Dux, who just passed, 700,000. But I really like this kind of a trade more because a lot of you guys, he invested roughly $2,000 and he made 348. This is a good trade to kind of model your small account trading on, whether you're going long or short. But if you're putting in $2 or $3,000 into a stock and you make 300, that's how you really grow these small accounts over time. So anyways, guys, I'm very grateful for all of you. Let's make 2017 great. And let's actually leave a comment with the name Legal Pimp. Let's give him some props. Let's give some small students, people with, small accounts, some props. It's not just about the millionaire students or the 6-figure students. So leave a comment if you made it through this entire video lesson and just say, congrats, Legal Pimp. And let's make him feel proud because he's been studying hard and he's changed his, downtrending profit chart into an uptrending profit chart. And he's taking good trades like NAKD. He's, taking, the meat of the move. Solid profits, a few $100s at a time. My little $5,000 E-Trade account, by the way, is now roughly $6,500 after 2 weeks. So again, nothing huge. A lot of my critics will say, oh God, you claim to be an expert and you're only making $1,500 over 2 weeks. Like that's a normal job. Yes, but the strategy that I'm using and the strategy that, my student Legal Pimp and Stephen Dux and Mark Crook and Tim Grattani and Michael Good, we're all using, it adds up much more than a normal job because this same trade can be done with, I don't know how many shares E-Trade had. Again, I was traveling. But it can be done up to a point. I think that they had, you could have shorted 7,000 shares. And so this same trade, Legal Pimp could have made 3,000 plus if he had a bigger account, if he had more experience. And I know some of you guys nailed it, like Stephen Dux, shorted and made, nearly 70 grand this week. He shorted this one and GLBS. So it's the same strategy when you get a bigger account. And this is so tough for people to understand because they're like, how can somebody who makes $300 learn to make $3,000 on the same trade? And it's purely just due to having a bigger account later on in your trading career. And I'm glad for those of you with small accounts. I know you want to trade with a big account right away. Don't rush it. Be grateful that you have a small account and you can test. Because if you make or lose $300, for most of us, that's not life-changing. But if you start making or losing $3,000 or making or losing $30,000, then that can be life-changing. And so it's good to start small and get on the right path. And Legal Pimp was on the wrong path before he started learning with me in person. Now he's on the right path. I think he just had his best day ever on Friday, if I have to guess, $700. And he'll be out of the red in a few more trades if he keeps making, 300 here, 400, 500, taking it one trade at a time, not necessarily catching the exact top or catching the exact bottom, but taking the meat of the move and moving on to the next trade. And I know many of you guys are like this guy where his main problem was not that he's not smart and not that he wasn't dedicated. He was just over trading. And he was just taking all these different trades, trying this and that and that. And now he's learned to take just, 1 or 2, maybe 3 trades in a day, max. And I think he has a few accounts to avoid the PDT rule. If you open up like 2 separate $3,000 accounts, then you have 6-day trades that you're working with, if you ever thought about that. So he's not trading as much, but he's taking the meat of the move. And that should be your, goal for this week. You do not have to trade as much as you think you do. You need to understand that the best trades come about very rarely, although lately it's been kind of like fire at will. But usually in a tamer market, you'll understand this lesson. But even in this hot market, you have to be patient. Stay in cash unless there's a really good setup that you feel comfortable with. You should never take a trade that you're not comfortable with. You shouldn't be like, oh, I don't want to do this trade, but I got to make a trade. I got to practice. No. Use the paper trading on stocks to trade. Okay? Let me show you one more screenshot. Let's see. I have too many screenshots open right now. Did I show this one? Yeah, maybe I did. I mean, on paper trading, on stocks to trade, if you're a stocks to trade user, which you should be, you'll be able to practice fake trades starting on Wednesday. And again, I'll have a follow-up video lesson. But anyways, I got to go. I'm starving. Props to Legal Pimp. Again, last chance to save on this sale. Props to Steven Ducks. And I'll see you guys all in the chat room tomorrow. Thank you.